Hello, Professor Salander's class, and welcome to your research guide. I'm going to be walking you through the resources linked on your research guide, which should be posted on Canvas for you. This is a one-stop shop with all the links of the resources that will be most helpful to you doing criminal justice research and specifically research for your corrections class. Let's go. If you would like a book, the main thing people associate the library with, you can search our library catalog. Keep in mind, books typically are on more general subjects, and if you're searching for articles, which we'll be doing in a bit, you're going to have a more narrow focus with more specific keywords. So looking for a book, I would keep it fairly general, so I'm typing in corrections. I'll hit search, and this will take me to the library catalog page. And so you'll see all the books or materials of all kinds that are available at all four of our campuses. We have the Wiley campus as well. And so you can come over here and select a campus specifically to narrow it down, or you can leave it be. And this way you'll also see ebooks. So this is quite an old one, but you can tell it's an ebook. And this would be accessible to you from home. You wouldn't need to be at any particular campus. To access ebooks, you would click this web link here. If you want to check out a print book, we'll click on this corrections, click location, and this is at the Central Park campus. So you can either go to McKinney and go to the Central Park campus and locate this book on the shelf using its call number and check it out using your student ID card, or you can place a hold on it. You can hit place request, and you would log in with your CougarWeb username and the last 6 digits of your phone number, and you can have that book moved totally for free. Usually takes a day or two. Onwards and upwards. We do also have some encyclopedia databases. So these are going to be entirely online ebooks, but they're specifically encyclopedias. The Sage Knowledge database is specifically published by this publisher called Sage, who has a lot of criminal justice related information, therefore a lot of criminal justice specific encyclopedias. So you will see what I mean. I'm going to look up electronic monitoring, as it has to do with like house arrest or parole. So I've typed in the term electronic monitoring, and I've put it in quotation marks because I'm going to do this whenever I search this phrase, because I want both of these words to be side by side, and this assures that the search interface is going to search for those words side by side so that my search results will be more relevant. All right. Do pay attention to the year. This is from 2005. But you can come over here to publication date, and you can pull this little bar closer. So if you don't want anything published before 2010, then you will have more recent results. So if you click electronic monitoring devices, then you have a nice encyclopedia entry that will give you the background information on a topic or give you a citable definition, because the issue with Wikipedia, of course, is that it does give you that background information, but it's not a stable resource that can be cited in most college papers. This, on the other hand, is considered more reputable, more stable, more academic. If you did want to pull some information from this to cite in your paper, you would go over here to Cite, and this will create a citation for you for your references page. So you can copy and paste this into Word or Google Docs or whatever you're using. You may have to tweak it a little bit. The formatting might not be perfect, but there are resources on your research guide about APA format, so you should be good to go and have a really good start. There are some others here, ebook options, but I do think for the most part I've listed the first one that I do believe is the most useful in each category. The Gale ebooks is more law-oriented versus criminal justice and criminology. So, you may have heard me mention SAGE, talking about SAGE knowledge. Here's the SAGE Criminology collection. SAGE, like I said, is a big publisher in that field of study. So, this is where you're going to search for academic journal articles, which are a very specific type of resource that will often be required in college research. So, you can type in your search terms. As you can see, I have typed them in before. And I'm going to click a couple of other things. I'm going to create a range of publication dates so that I don't see anything older than 2010. And I'm going to click only content to which I have full access. For some reason, you have to double click the search to get it going. That is maybe just a me thing. Maybe we are working from home these days sometimes. So keep that in mind. If you can't get the search to go, double click it. But I can now see that it is thinking. All right, so I get 442 results. And it highlights where my keywords appear, which is very handy. And we're in the past 10 years. You can see over here, research article, review article, book review. If you see a book review, that's not going to be your most useful resource. Those are going to be book reviews that appeared in academic journals. A research article is ideal. Review articles are going to be more like where they've collected the findings of a bunch of articles, which might still be useful. So, you might see, okay, electric monitoring and reintegration in Belgium. You're like, but I'm writing about the U.S. Certainly there will be articles about the U.S. in here as well, but something that I do think can be handy for research purposes is if there's an issue like electronic monitoring or house arrest, and you want to compare and contrast the way the U.S. does it versus other countries, then this kind of resource can be really useful. But it doesn't tell you a whole lot from the title. So if you click preview, you get to see the abstract, which is a summary of the article. And it tells you the focus of the article, what the article is going to cover. And from here, you can decide if you really want to read the whole article. You can either click full text, or you can PDF download. Sometimes you might want to download something because you're saving them to flash drives, or wanting to just save the full letter in a downloaded format. But if you're still just kind of deciding if you want to use the article or you just want to read the whole thing right now quickly on your screen, the full text button will bring it up in HTML and not a downloaded PDF, but you can also still do that from here. And so here's your abstract, but here's the whole article. And you can skim through that and get an idea if it's going to be useful to you. If you want to cite the article, you'll click here where it says Cite. And it defaults to APA, which is handy because that's what you'll be using. And you can copy and paste this citation into your references page. So we're going to go back to our research guide. And we're going to look at another article database, this criminal justice collection. This is just articles from magazines and journals that are published by this Gale publisher. So, everyone has to have their own interface. So you can enter your search in. You can just type in electronic monitoring and go to town. But the most effective way is going to be going to advanced search. This way you can control your search parameters in the same way you did using Sage. So we're going to, one thing I always see students do is if there's options down here, always clicking one. And sometimes, like in this case, yes, electronic monitoring, which sometimes I pronounce strangely, electronic monitoring is one of the first options, and sure, I'll let them finish typing that out for me. But sometimes it can, I'm going to just make suggestions that maybe that wouldn't be great searches. They're based on what other people have typed in. They're not based on like recommendations from a librarian. So if you want to talk about electronic monitoring in general, but you choose electronic monitoring bracelet, you're really restricting your search. It's only going to include articles in your results that have the words electronic monitoring and bracelet, which of course is not the only way to do electronic monitoring. So keep that in mind. Sometimes these can be useful, these pop-up suggestions, but typically it's best to just stick with the search terms you yourself have selected. This conveniently already checks documents with full text, so you don't have to worry about clicking a button that says only items to which I have full access like we did in Sage. And you want to click peer-reviewed journals. This way you won't see the magazine results. Not that the magazine results couldn't be interesting, but they won't satisfy a minimum requirement for peer-reviewed journals. And you can choose your publication date range. This one makes it kind of easy. You can just say, I only want articles published after a particular date. Now you do have to choose the date, so I always just choose January 1st of whatever year is the farthest I want my results to go back. Now we will click search, and we get 12 academic journal articles. This database is probably not as big as Sage, but it is going to pull from some different resources and might be interesting. So you can see this is talking about the Fourth Amendment limits on electronic monitoring, so it's looking at it more from a legal perspective from the North Carolina Law Review. So that could be very interesting. It's nice to get different perspectives because this is coming from a legal perspective versus if you were to pull something from the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology, that's taking it from a legal perspective, but also a little bit criminology, if that makes sense. And that's talking specifically about electronic surveillance of juveniles, which might even be an interesting perspective to take, that you might decide to follow that up specifically and look at electronic monitoring of juveniles in the criminal justice system. So if you want to actually read the article, there's not a lot of options to click from here. All you can do is click the title, which is straightforward. So here's the article, and you can just read it right here. Some of them will have abstracts at the beginning and some of them will not, like this one. And then if you want to cite it, I don't love where they put the citation tool. It's kind of hidden. It's up here, these little quotation marks. It does default to MLA, so do be sure to click APA. And then you can copy and paste this and edit as needed. Back to our research guide. I did also include a link to Academic Search Complete. It's a very large multidisciplinary database. It does not have a lot of criminal justice specific databases. It does have a lot of different disciplines, so sometimes pulling something in from sociology or pulling something in from economics, sometimes that can be useful. But like I said, I've put the top few that I think are going to be the most helpful to start out with at the top of each list. And on to this last list, the academic web resources. These are not academic journals. These are on free websites where justice-related, criminal justice-related bureaus and departments publish reports and findings from different criminal justice programs. So you can see it's pretty straightforward. If you're interested in prisons, the Federal Bureau of Prisons will have some interesting insights. If you're talking about juveniles, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. The first one listed, though, is the most comprehensive and covers all of those kinds of topics, the NCJRS Abstracts database. So you can see up here, it's this Office of Justice Programs, and these are various justice programs that contribute to this large site. It's a great site with a lot of interesting free information. It's not as slick as a paid database, so searching it is just a little bit different. So this is how I would suggest, and I've played around with this website a lot. So your topic is related to corrections. So we see that, we can click that, and then we will get some more subtopics to choose from. And because house arrest, electronic monitoring, can often be related to parole and probation. That's the subtopic I'm going to choose. And then within keyword search within topic, I'm going to search my terms. This I find is the best way. Searching at the very top search bar is not the most effective search that I have found. Searching within a relevant topic area, that has worked best for me. So click search. And the first thing is results in publications full text. The publications are going to be your best bet in this database. So adult sex offender management. We don't know from the title that this is related to our issue, but if you go into the PDF where you can read the full article, if you read the introduction, it should tell you, what they're going to be talking about, but you can also just scroll through and look at the headings of the paragraphs. And so electronic monitoring, there's a chapter on it. And so that could definitely be something of interest to you. It's not a huge section, but it does just talk about the use of electronic monitoring when it comes to sex offenders. And so that is, pretty specific, but interesting. And, some of it, like I said, it's not the slickest search interface. So not all of these are going to be incredibly relevant. You will have to do a little sifting. And also pay attention to the year. This is crime file, house arrest, 1986. Now, if you wanted to reference like the way things were done in the 80s before we have the kind of technology we have now, that could also be interesting. Following what you're seeing, getting ideas for the kinds of ways that you want to narrow your research or you want to approach a certain aspect. That's part of the research process as well, is kind of just seeing what's out there and getting ideas and actually trying to find something that you yourself are interested in. These will not create citations for you. So that brings me back to your research guide. Here is the APA format tab with some resources for creating an APA citation. Here are some examples on the side. So if you, need to cite an article from an online periodical, DOIs are a number that's assigned to academic journal articles, so that's what that's referring to. Some have DOIs and some don't. If they have a DOI, you have to include it in your citation. But those are just some basic examples. If you have a print book, you'll need to create a citation for it as well. And so this gives you those guidelines. This website here, the OWL APA style, that is kind of the top resource that we use. A lot of librarians rely on this because we do have in the library, you can check it out, an APA style guide. But they can be a little bit difficult to find exactly what you're looking for. This really drills it down to, in-text citations. That's also part of your citations. You do have to, in the text of your paper, using the specific format APA calls for, refer to the full citation that's going to be in your references page. OWL has started having these little pop-up videos that I don't love, but hey, it's a free website, so you have to put up with it. But electronic sources, this is going to be where you find citations for a web page or piece of online content. Which one of these NCJRS articles would qualify as? And of course, you can always ask us in the library. You can contact us a variety of ways. I'm going to go back to the research guide. And one of those ways would be emailing me. I'm holding a legal book. I don't think I actually read it, but you can email me here. Or you can contact the library directly. You can go to the reference desk physically if you're in the library, or if you go to academics, libraries, ask a librarian. Here are some ways to contact the library. When the chat is available, you would be able to have a live chat with a librarian. Here you can also email us, and then here's also information about calling us. So we do try to make ourselves easy to get a hold of, especially these days where you might not want to physically come in the library. Those online resources, that chat and email especially, are going to be a really great resource for you. So I hope this was helpful, and happy researching.